Good morning, everyone. We have lots to cover. First of all, I want to tell you, I am not an expert on any of these things. Okay. I'm going to give you ideas of tools you may want to use, how I use them, and then you may want to go to YouTube and find some training videos on how to do a specific thing you want to do. Okay. So we're going to cover lots of things for how you can keep your records, how to use the technology to your advantage, but they're by no means exhaustive, or am I an expert? But I thought maybe if I gave you a window into some things you might want to try, you'd say, oh, that's a good idea, or oh, I got a better idea. That's fine. These are just ideas. All right. So first off, we're going to start. I'm going to do Zoom first because the class yesterday left some people with some questions. And so I just wanted to kind of go through a few of those things. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to share a whiteboard. Let me start with that. That's one thing you can do with your club is to have a whiteboard. There are tools for the whiteboard. You can set it up so that you can write, you can type, you can have only you can write on it or everyone can write on it. You can highlight some things. You'll have a spotlight, look over here, look over here. You can put arrows saying, look at these things. You can change formats, play with that. Set up a Zoom meeting with you and your staff and everybody play with that. Okay. The thing that's interesting about this is if you're sharing a screen, you can do the same thing. Those same annotations are available. So if you're sharing your presentation screen or the honor, you can go put, kids, I want you to focus on this or look on that. So it's kind of an interesting way to use Zoom. I find it fun. And let me stop sharing that screen. Let's see, here we go. And then another thing you can do is breakout rooms. And some people wanted to know how those worked. So I'm going to have our moderator, which, by the way, when you're having a meeting, you may want to have one of your staff be your moderator. In other words, the person who makes the technology work for you. And so you could be busy teaching. Okay. So you don't have to do it all. You can do it all. On a small club, you have to do it all. But to give yourself a chance to have somebody help you. So we're going to go on to breakout rooms. And we're going to be in the breakout room for 2 minutes. That's it, because we don't have much time. In the 2 minutes, introduce yourselves, where you're from, and then come back. Okay. So I wanted you guys to practice how to get into a meeting and then how to get out of the meeting. And we're going to do it in a randomized fashion, but you can do breakout rooms where they're assigned. You do that beforehand. Assign your Pathfinders, like all your friends and companions together and their staff member. And so you could have assigned ones, but for our case, there's too many of us. We're just going to throw you into rooms, do that, 2 minutes, come on back. All right. So if Key is ready, you can go ahead and hand everybody off into breakout rooms.
I think for those that are still in the main room and not in a breakout room, it may be because you are on a version of Zoom that may not support it. So maybe this can be your breakout room, at least for a few minutes. Marilyn, you're muted.
Some of us are coming back.
Okay,
so,
cool. I know there were some people that didn't. I assigned everybody to a breakout room, but for whatever reason, not everybody got into a breakout room. So I'm thinking maybe they didn't accept the breakout room invite, right. Or maybe they might, it might not be supported by the version of Zoom that they're on. So,
right. My guess is most people didn't know they had to accept to go into it.
Got it. Okay. Let me know when I should close all the rooms.
Go ahead and send the notice to close the room.
Okay. All right.
It gives them like 60 seconds or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they should be coming back. All right. I see it growing. Welcome back.
It's interesting that it sent me to a breakout room even though I'm co-host. And that's something I did not realize. I've always been the host. When I've been breakout rooms, I've never been a co-host. So
I see.
that was something I learned just now.
Now, when you're in the breakout room, does it automatically unmute the person, or you still have to
No,
unmute?
you still have to unmute yourself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's why I wanted everybody to talk, so everybody saw how that worked.
Cool. It looks like it's going to close automatically in about 5 seconds. So everybody should be back.
Right. I've got about 3 more minutes that I need to spend on Zoom, and then we got to go to something else. So we're going to do polling next, okay, as soon as we got everybody back.
Okay, I think everybody should be back now.
All right, so next, first thing you need to have noticed is that you had to unmute yourself to talk, that you got messages from the host that told how many seconds were left. You can adjust that time, and you can send independent messages. But whatever's on the front screen, like if I'd had a PowerPoint showing, it doesn't go to the breakout room, okay? So, but a breakout room is a great place for working. We'll give an assignment and send people to breakout rooms. They do that assignment, and then they come back. I've had people come back and post it on the whiteboard, what they've learned, like in a small meeting or master guide meetings. Every group comes back and posts what the assignment was on the whiteboard, and then we talk about what they've done. Just kind of, it's just another tool. So next thing we're going to do is a poll. You should see it come up, answer the question, and then come on back. All right? Key, we got, oh, because you're a co-host. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're good.
It looks like both questions are up there at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. You do that unless you start a separate poll.
Got it.
I'll talk about that a little bit then. Have about half the people have answered. As you guys are doing the poll, I can see how many of you have answered. 50 out of the 79 have answered, so 64% have responded. And we will end the poll in about 15 seconds, which is an option that you have. How to get to it. Okay. While you're waiting. Yeah. All right. One of the questions that came through while we're waiting here for the poll to end is, how do you get to the whiteboard? It's under share screen, which you guys don't have, but as the host, you would have a share screen, and you pick whiteboard amongst the options of what you're sharing. Okay, let's end this poll. And I'm going to share the results. It says here that we're getting a pretty even distribution. That's what I'm looking here. That people want classes and most everything, and very few people were not interested in a class at all, which tells me that in the we've set aside 2 Sundays on the conference calendar to have additional classes. It looks like people are interested in classes in all of these things, so that's what we'll work on. All right. Somebody asked, can you have messages in, can the breakout room send messages to the host? The answer is yes, but I can't remember how to do it right off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to look that up. But I do know there's a way that the breakout room can send a message to the host, but I just don't remember what that is. Next, we're going to move on to other applications. We're going to go to Google, and I'm going to share my screen. And let's go to, there we go. Ooh. It is not open. Just a minute. Let's go here. There we go. All right. Can you guys see my Jotform screen? Okay. So I'm going to start with Google Drive. Google Drive is a free product from Google to help organize yourself. If you have a Google account, you get one of these for free. They have a certain amount of storage, so be careful. This is how I organize my other documents, all right? It's a useful resource. It is an open platform. It is secure as Google can make it, but it's not a place I would put sensitive information, all right? Within this product, there's all kinds of different applications, and we're going to start with Google Docs. I need to hide this screen here. If you come over here to this, where you'll have a different letter here, but M is for me, for Marilyn, and then next to it, these are the Google products that I have readily available. I can go to Google Docs, and these are my docs that I have built. Docs are interesting to use for different things. You can, let me see what's the best one. This is how I use it. Now, you may think of other ideas, but one of the things I have to do is develop a document. And I have a team of people helping me develop this document. I put out the document with just a general one, and then I invited all these people to help. They make comments on whether or not wording. So like here, Robert says we should add this information. If we all agree, we have a conference call, say, yeah, we all agree, I can accept that, and see how it went from red to black. Now it's an accepted part of the document. When it's here, this one I haven't accepted, we don't know if we like that wording. We'll work on that wording. So it's a collaborative way to work on a document. So you may want to use this if you're working on an honor, developing an honor with one of your staff, or working on your schedule. It's just a way to collaboratively work on a document. Now, that's not the only way to use Google Docs. You can also do it as a document that you use for people to print out. These are the memory texts that friends have to have, okay? So this is just they can't edit it. I haven't given anybody permission. I just send it as an unedited, as a non-editable document to them. And so I can store documents that I've built in Google Docs just for sharing. So either way, it's a great way to use Google Docs. So let's go to Google Forms. Okay. Google Forms are things for people to fill out, okay? So here's one I have for the book of Romans. I forgot which class does Romans. I think it's like Voyager or Ranger. I want the kids to fill this out as they read these things. So I create this document and do it. Now, this document is just like the document you saw in Google Classroom. They're the exact same document, but you do not have to use Google Classroom to use forms or docs or sheets. They can be independent, okay? So in this one here, I could send this to the kids for them to fill out. When they're completed with it, they submit it to, and I will have their responses here. And then just like in Google Classroom, you can see the responses and so on. Where I've used this that you guys have seen is many of you have seen this Pathfinder survey. I created a survey for the Pathfinders to know which events we liked. We want to know how old the Pathfinder was. And then we had a build a city event. Did the kids like it? We had, what did you think of the city center? So these are my survey questions. And then these are the responses I got. I can see all of the responses here for the different sections. I can see them by individual, or I can, and I don't know if you can see my little cursor here. See this little green box? I can send this to Excel or to a Google Sheet. And now I have them all in a sheet that I can manipulate and sort. So if I want to say how many people said good and how many, I can do that. I can get their email addresses if I need and so on. So it's just another tool. It's not, they can be done in Google Classroom, but you can do them independently. How else have I used this? Here's one way I don't use it. Okay, you could build a registration form for Master Guides. I built one here just as a demo because I'm not going to use this one. Because the problem with a Google form is the types of things you can have. I can have short answers. I can have, let's see if I can get this to come here. It won't show you the window. Anyway, the short answers, long answers. The thing is, they are not format checked. So if you ask for a date and they type their name in, it doesn't know the difference. If you wanted to know what class they were in, friend, companion, and they put down 5th grade, it doesn't check these kind of things. Okay, so I have a different tool I like using it for. So I wouldn't use this for registration forms myself, but maybe that works for you. The problem I have is I end up cleaning up the data. I spend all kinds of time cleaning up data when I use this type of a form. All right, so the next one we're going to go is Google Sheets. And Google Sheets, here's how I'm using it. With my master guides, I needed to know who has completed what things. These are my master guides. These are the requirements. And then I just have check boxes for them to fill in that, yeah, she needs this signed. Okay, so she put a little note here for me. I can restrict this that it's like to say, Sonia can only edit this column. Sonia cannot edit anything else on here. She can't go take people's check marks away. She can't change the requirement. She can only edit this column. You can set permissions. Now, I'm not showing you how to do these things because we don't have time, but I'm just kind of giving you what I would do with this kind of information. If you are interested, and I can share this with you, I have the Investor Achievement chart with all the levels. Each one gets its own tab so that you can give your counselor access, your friend counselor access to this sheet in this whole book, and they can check off as their kids complete things. So it is one way to keep records. If you don't want to use Google Classroom, which has a lot of overhead and a lot of work, this is kind of a slimmed down way of keeping track of things. Okay, these type things that I'm showing you, I will share with you. You need to let Iris know because she and I are coordinating, and we will give you access to the different things. All right. So it's one of those things that I built this, and I have it for Master Guide. I have it for all the classes in Pathfinders, and I'm getting ready to build all the ones for adventurers. So this would be, and it's just very simple, but it's an online way. That way, if you're having a meeting, you can go look at this document together and say, okay, we need to work on this. Nobody's completed this, like with your staff, and find out where your kids stand. Because like Nadine said in the previous class, you want to keep tabs on where the kids are. Now that they're remotely, you can't just go look at their book. Because normally I would just wander over to their table or wherever they're working and see how they're doing and look through their book. You can't do that. So you need to have some way to keep track of it. Now, you had a really great class in Google Classrooms. And I want to show you what I've been working on. He has a Google Classroom built, but it is in his drive. And as far as I know, you cannot take one classroom from one organization and move it to another organization. So we have built each of the achievement classes in, let's see, I don't want to go here. Let me go here. Each of the achievement classes as a classroom. And you can have multiples, and these can be copied. So we'll ask Iris to copy it, and we will copy it and give you ownership of it, and it'll become yours. So if we look at friend, it looks just like what he showed you. You can customize each of these things to your desire. Right now, they're customized for Houston Central Church because that's where I go to church. And I figured if I was building it, I'd build it for a club that I know is going to use it. Not everybody needs to use this. This is just another tool. But if you would like a copy of this, Iris will copy it, and then we will give you the documents. Because if you look at, let's see, what's a good one? If I look at this one here, this has a Google Form document that's assigned to it. You may want to have a different document. This is the questions and answers that Nadine decided she wanted for her class, but you may decide you want to do it totally different. That's okay. It's just one more tool in your classroom. Oh, where'd I go? Here we go. Nope, that's not it. I got too many windows open. Here we go. And as he showed you yesterday, you can edit it. She's assigned 20 points for that activity. You may assign 10, 5, 100, however you want to do it. You can put a due date. You can make it yours. We will have a default that we put out there, but you will need to make time if you're using Google Classroom to go through every single assignment and decide how you want to do it. Or you can request a Google Classroom and build it yourself and build it as you go. Okay? You only do the assignments for this next month. And then next month you do new assignments. This we built out for the whole year. You know, all of the investor achievement, none of the honors, just the investor achievement stuff to give you a framework. But it's just a suggestion. Do it however works for you. Okay? It's very important that you understand that's whatever works for your club. These are just tools. All right? Now, I talked a little bit about registration forms. I use a product called Jotforms. It is free if you have less than 100 per month. And then I think it's like $9.95 a month if you do more. This is where I like building registration forms and other things. You can see here, I have the safe driver pledge, the trip permission slip, my club registration. I had a survey that I did with the master guides, and I have master guide registration. So let's look at building a brand new form. Well, let me just look at master guide here. That's kind of show you. I put some verbiage here. I wanted their name, but you see how it's formatted in specific ways? This form will check that they put an email address. It won't check that it's a valid email, but at least check that it's in the right format, that it's got the and sign and it's got the dot, whatever on it. I asked for their address. I wanted a signature. Okay, they can do a signature on here. And the way you add things to here is really simple. Let's say I want to have a separate phone number. Let's say, okay, that's how hard that was. Okay, you just slide it over there and it's there. All right, so to me, that makes it really easy. You can make payments with this. You have to work with your church and your church treasurer. One, you have to get permissions, and then your church treasurer will work with you so people can pay online if you want. But it definitely has to go through your church. There's lots of ways to do it. I'm not going to spend time. I've only done it a couple times. It is a little tedious to set up because it is financial information, but it can be done through here. And there's some widgets you can use. I've not used any of these except for like the date picker and a couple others. But these are all great tools that are, and they're drag and drop. You just drag them over there. You can do dividers, you can do second pages. And to me, this is an easier way to do it. Once you've done that, you've built your form, you can have it automatically email any time anybody enters a form. You can send them a receipt back. You can put conditions. In other words, if this person sends it, then do this with it. The other thing you can do is you can integrate it into your web page. I know a lot of your clubs have their own web pages. You can embed the logic for this registration or whatever it is into your web page. That way you don't have to send them a link. They just have it on the web page. Or you can just email them a link. And all you have to do is I usually just copy this and put it in a text or put it in an email. Usually I do both because some of my people like one kind of communication than the other, which by the way is one of the polls I did with my Master Guide Club. I did a poll. How do you want to be communicated with, and what options do you have? Do you have a cell phone? Do you have a computer? You know, so I ask those questions so I can tailor how I communicate by what they have. So, and then I have one more product that I'm going to show you. And I think my window got closed on that. So let's do this. This is Dropbox. Dropbox is a way to transfer large files. It's a file management system. I keep quite a few things, like all the AYMT stuff. These are the basic tracks and presentations that we have used to teach the class. So this is where I keep them. So I have a new teacher. It's going to be teaching in basic training, the campouts. I give them access to the one document that I have in here. Okay, they can pull it down and they can make it their own, so that I have consistency in my teachers. But all Dropbox is a way to transfer large files. If you use Google Docs, you're going to end up using a lot of your space. So I tend to like to put my files in Dropbox that I'm just sharing, and keep Google Docs for things I'm teaching, surveys, and things like that. Again, just a tool. All right, so I have covered pretty much everything that I have to go touch on. So for the next 20 minutes, we're going to see what questions or what you'd like me to go more in depth. So Nadine, if anybody put something on the chat, we'll go over one of these more than another.
I think a lot of questions really not going to go back to Zoom.
Okay.
Breakout room, like talk maybe a little bit more detail if you can about how to see those specifics.
Okay, let's see if we can go to Zoom.
I answered some questions about Jotform and some things like
Yeah.
that. But
Let me go over here. You guys, the pictures of you guys is covering up my tools. I can't work my tools. Oh no. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this screen. And I'm going to see if I can share my Zoom screen and you can see controls. I don't know how this particular Zoom session is set up. When you share your screen, by default, it doesn't show controls. So we will see if I can show controls. Okay, can you guys see the controls at the bottom of my screen? No. Okay, so we'll just talk about them and do some. All right, let's see here. And breakout rooms. I guess I don't understand the question.
just a little more detail, like how do you do it? Why would you do it?
Okay, all right.
How do you, did you talk about like broadcasting the message to the breakout room?
Okay, all right.
Maybe just a little bit more on that.
So first thing you need to know is the only person who can do a breakout room is the host, all right? So if you are the host, you can manage that. If somebody else is the host, like if your church has a Zoom account that they want you to use, and it has to be put together by your audiovisual team, then they are the host. They have to make you the host. They have to give you control so that you can do polling, that you can do breakout rooms. And before you start the session, those have to be enabled in settings, okay? So this is not a complete Zoom class, but in the profile setting that your Zoom has, you have to make sure you go through, and I would go through and read every single setting and say, yes, I want this. No, I don't. Just don't go with the defaults. But things you can choose is, yes, I want polling. Yes, I want breakout rooms. I want people to have their mics on or off when they come in. Do I need, trying to remember what they all are. And my Zoom session is being used somewhere else, so I can't go there. But anyway, read every single one and decide what you want to turn on and off. Next thing I would recommend is set up a Zoom meeting with a couple people in your staff and play. It is so important to play. You don't know how many hours I have spent just going between my husband and I, or my son and I. Oh, what does this do? What does that do? How can I use this? play, all right? Figure out how it works and then how you want to use it, all right? For the breakout rooms, you can send them a message, but you can't give them a document. Well, you can send them a file, but it has to be a file they can open over there. So there's a way to load a file over there. That's one of your options. Like if you have a Word document, turn it into a PDF, and then you can send them the file. So if you want them to open that, and like you're having them work on something, and I haven't tried that yet. I have read and watched videos on how to do that. So I can't, like I said, I'm not an expert here. But that's one thing you can do. You can send them messages like your time's almost up. Are you working? They should be able to send you messages back, but I don't know how to do that. I know that it's possible because I've read it, but I've not tried it. So again, experiment. Have you and somebody else in the room try back and forth. Send them by themselves to a breakout room and bring them back. What I have used breakout rooms for is to have them work on a specific task. I try to make breakout rooms short duration. Now, if you're going to have the breakout room for your people to teach the investor achievement things, you may want it 15, 20 minutes, but I wouldn't do more than 20 minutes. When you go to a breakout room, you lose lots of functionality of Zoom. You can talk, but you can't have whiteboards. You can't do those types of things. But the counselor can work with the kids on like, how are you doing? Did you finish this? Can you show me? You know, I know that in school, my 5-year-old granddaughter, she has to show her work. She holds it up. You know, the teacher says, okay, I want to see what you were coloring. She was learning the number 2, how to write a 2. So she had to do a page of those. And so she had to show the teacher that she'd completed her page of 2s. Okay. So you can, as a counselor, you can do that. You have the kids working on things and then just hold up their book to show, yeah, I filled that in. You can ask them questions. So that is one way you can do breakout rooms. Mostly I've used them for specific little chats. I want them to coordinate. It's a good way to build teamwork. Okay. We did some team building exercises using the breakout rooms. It's getting the Pathfinders to interact with each other. But if you have 30, it's hard in a Zoom meeting to interact. The mics really have to be off. But if you put 5 of them in a breakout room with a counselor, they can interact. And you give them a task to do that forces them to interact. Okay. That keeps them engaged. If this whole meeting, all I did was talk at you, you are adults and you will suffer through it. But the kids aren't going to want to come to your meetings, okay? If you're just talking at them the whole time, telling them what they need to be doing, that's boring. So if you mix it up, like have a poll ready, did you memorize any text this week and what was it, so they can say, yes, I did that. Or have you, done some specific thing and have them answer that question? Or should we do this or that? Do a little survey. And should we do breakout rooms now? Have them have to interact with you in Zoom. It's going to make your meeting much more interesting. Make sure they know how to use the chat, how to do different things in the chat. And you will have some kid who is disruptive. Not on purpose, but disruptive is like, oh, I wonder what this does, because they have no fear with technology. They're used to trying things. Oh, I got a new tool. I'm going to try reactions, and I'm going to put thumbs up. I'm going to do thumbs down. That's okay. Have them learn, make it a constructive exercise. Instead of them just experimenting, saying, okay, some of you have noticed reactions. Let's all try to see if we can do a thumbs up. Let's all try. And then it becomes not a disruption. It becomes part of your teaching. So part of the work you're going to work with these kids is help them use Zoom if they don't know. Not all of them are using Zoom for school. Some of your kids may be homeschooled already, so they don't use Zoom. Mom is there teaching them. Okay, so they may need some help with that. Let's see. Did that help with the breakout? Okay.
So there is a question about, can you get a paid Zoom account from the conference?
That is a question that I will pass to the conference. I don't think so. But your church has to go through your church. Your churches should have gotten an account, as I recall. but since it didn't go through me, I don't know for sure.
One thing Ginger pointed out in the chat was that her church board allowed each of the ministries to get a Zoom account so they can control it
Okay,
however they.
that's very interesting. One of the people in the chat from College Station, their church board voted that each ministry gets their own Zoom account so they don't crash into each other. But again, you got to work with your board. A basic Zoom account has certain limitations. I don't believe, can do polling, and there's a couple other things you can't do if it's a basic, and there's a time limit how long your meetings can be, and you have a very small number of people that can be in your Zoom meeting. Okay, a paid account has much more things you can do, and there's different levels of paying. Okay, for this particular thing, all our accounts weren't big enough, so we had to go scrounge to get enough Zoom accounts that were big enough to do this event. All right, so those are the things you need to consider when you're doing your Zoom account.
Another question, I think we've answered most of the others, but can you talk a little bit more about Jotform and Payments? Or I can.
Okay, I can do a little bit on Jotforms and Payments. Okay, Jotforms and Payments has to go through your board. You can, the way I have used it personally is to sell things through Jotforms and PayPal to my personal account. That can be done. You can do it yourself. You're going to need it to pay to the church. So you have to work with the church. Like the conference has used it to pay to the conference. Some of the forms that you got that Iris sent out were Jotforms that paid directly to the conference. And it goes to their bank account. It didn't go through PayPal. It went directly to their checking account. Depends on what your church is comfortable with, how they use it. All right. I can't walk you through how to do it because depending on the choice you pick on what money transfer agent you're going to have, it's going to be different steps. It is not fast and it is not simple. It is money. So there's lots of little boxes you have to check correctly. It is doable. We've done it, but I can't tell you how to do it because I don't know what your transfer agent is, and it's going to depend on that. But you do have to work with your treasurer. It is secure. That's why you're using a transfer agent, to make it secure. But those and what I mean by transfer agents is, let's see here. Let's go back to build. When I go to payments, these are transfer agents. You can see there's quite a few of them they have available. Okay, because even in PayPal, there's numerous ones. All right, these are the transfer agents that move money from one bank to another. And there's a lot of regulations on how those work, and which ones your church was willing to work with is something you'll have to check out. If your church does not, your church treasurer does not know how to do this, they need to talk to the treasury department at the conference office because they have figured it out. They know how it works and they can help them. But I do not feel qualified to help them because it very much depends on what transfer agents you're using and how your bank accounts are set up and so on. But it is a powerful thing because having people be able to pay for stuff electronically saves you all kinds of hassle. And if you do it through Jotforms, it keeps a record and you can do the history and you can download it, which I find very helpful. So I can see who's paid me, who's not paid me. That information is readily available. We did a leadership in Bryan one year where you guys bought tickets. That was done through PayPal. There's a whole, that's what I used when you people came in and said, I registered and you don't have a thing for me. I could go look up their payment history and see, yeah, well, no, yours didn't go through, or you did it under a different name, or whatever the issue was, and we could resolve it right there because I had the history. So I find that very convenient. Anything else? We got 5 minutes. Okay. Like I said, I just hit these things real high level, running really fast, but it kind of gives you some ideas of what you can do. I'm hoping that it sparked your imagination. To me, that's the most important thing, that it sparked your imagination of things that are possible, things you can do. And use them different ways than I've used them. find new ways and share them with me, okay? Because even though I'm working at the conference level, I'm also working with my church, and I also need ideas. So share them with other people, network, find other directors that you can share information. How are you doing this? What tools did you use? That is really, really helpful. All right, so I think we're doing well. We can probably break. I need to go to teach another class in another language.
There's just a lot of requests. Please don't forget to share those documents and Google
Yeah.
Classrooms with them and stuff. So.
Okay, the documents that we have from Google Classrooms, you have to request them via email to Iris. Okay, I want documentation, who needs it, and make sure we can do that. And it won't be immediate. I can't, if you ask me today, you will not have them tomorrow, because it is, I'm guessing it'll take about 2 hours worth of work per club to get you the documents that you need. All right. And I've only done it between my account to my account. I've not done it from my account to your account. So I may need your cooperation to get these things to work. This is a learning process. So I'm asking for grace up front.
And some of the other just Google Docs and check sheets and stuff that you had like that. So
Okay, yeah, those are easy. Just ask him for Iris, the check sheets. I will make them accessible. And what you're going to do is I'm going to give it to you in a non-editable form. You're going to download them to your drive, and then you can edit them, because I don't want you messing up mine. I want you to have your own, because if you put your people in my club, that'll be very confusing. But yeah, we'll share all of those sheets. That's sort of why we built them, to kind of give you a leg up to get you started without having to invent the wheel. Okay, you might have to invent the wagon, but at least we're giving you the wheels. Iris's email, iescobar at tx. Yeah, it's going to go in the chat. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, put it in the chat. Mine pops up automatically. Iris and I are good friends. Now, I believe next weekend is playbook, and I think the weekend after that is when we would have our first class on one of these topics, those of you who wanted a class. So I'm going to see if Iris can send out a registration for who wants to attend the class. I can't do a poll, because one thing about polls, you have to build them ahead of time. If you try to do them on the fly, you have to be the owner, and it knocks you out, puts you in the original account. You have to build it, then you have to come back. So build your polls ahead of time. If you in the chat would write down which class you'd like first, and these are your choices. You want to do Google Drive, Docs, Forms and Sheets, that package of things, Classroom, or Jotforms. Those are the three choices. Which class would you like? Oh, I could have Zoom too. Yeah, okay. Well, that's Zoom. So Zoom, Jotforms, Classroom, or the Google suite of products. If you would put that in the chat, I can download the chat, which by the way is something the host can do. Download the chat. So I have a record of all what people want, and I'll do my own statistics off of that, and we'll offer that class. All right. Yeah, we aren't going to close the session because you guys are doing your responses. But yeah, if you guys respond on what you'd like first, we'll do that. And like I said, we have 2 days set aside. If we need more, we'll do more. We want to help you as much as possible. But take advantage of the tutorials on YouTube. There's some fantastic tutorials. And they'll do one little topic that's like 8 minutes. And I watch one, and then I go to my Zoom session and I try it. Or I go to my Google thing and try it. Google and Zoom have their own videos, but they're not as good as some of the ones other people do. The other people have practical experience of how they use it. And that to me is much more helpful than the official Zoom one, because it's all theoretical. It doesn't have like real examples. They just kind of, anyway, whatever works for you. But search, watch, learn. soak it up like a sponge, okay? All right. So, all right. So I'm going to leave you folks to get logged into my other session. I hope this was helpful. We want to do the very best year this year for your kids so they can have a relationship with Christ and have the support of their church, that they do not feel alone, that they feel like we are together. We are a community. All right. Thank you.